Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Monmouth County. My name is Joan Farkas, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I serve as the denominational affairs person on our congregational council, and I'll talk a little bit about what that means later. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived in this beloved place, you are welcome here. Our mission is to create community, transform ourselves, and transform the world. I'd like to draw your attention to the back side of your orders of service for announcements and service information for next week. For those of you on the live stream and for video viewers, the order of service link is available to you in the YouTube service description box. After the service, we'll be holding a fundraising Chili Mac extravaganza in the community room. And if you are new here, please be our guests at this yummy event. If you are new to us, please do visit our website, UUCMC.org, where you can sign up to get all the latest news of the congregation by email. We look forward to getting to know you better. Please put your devices on silent as we enter into worship together. Welcome again to this place of love and hope.
I'm the Reverend Dr. Craig Rubano. Happy Lunisolar New Year, happy Spring Festival, and a hearty welcome to the Wood Dragon. Thank you for joining us at this service of worship, with worship understood in its original meaning of a shaping concern for all that is of worth. We continue the month of February, in which our theme is justice and equity. Today, understanding that each, equity with its solutions for addressing imbalanced social systems, and justice, taking equity further by fixing those systems sustainably, equity and justice infuse and are infused by the love that is at the center of our Unitarian Universalist values. Not a romantic or affectionate love, at least not merely those, but a powerful love, fulfilling the parameters articulated by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said that love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice. And justice is at its best as power correcting everything that stands against love. This morning we experience our association of Unitarian Universalist congregations at a crossroads of sorts, with we, its members, about to vote in June on a re-articulation of our commonly shared values, until now contained in the principles we have vowed to affirm and promote. You can see on the slide and on your orders of service a new graphic for 6 values that inform our continuing actions in the service of a central, active, and liberating love. We'll hear from Michelle McKenzie-Creech, our Director of Family Ministry, as well as from our Denominational Affairs Chair, who just welcomed us, Joan Farkas, about some of the new proposals' details. And I'll share some words of wisdom about the power of love, just in time for Valentine's Day on Wednesday. This morning also we'll hear 2 articulations of our values from the Reverend John Corrado, Minister Emeritus from the Grosse Pointe Unitarian Church in Michigan. One will be sung as our prayer later in the service, and the first will call us to worship this morning, reminding us that beyond promoting and affirming things, as we have vowed historically to do with regard to our conceptual principles, we are also called to act in concert with the values they represent. From John Corrado. Here we are, children at the big party, having our moment in the sun, our piece of the action, till our bodies give way and we are called home. We're one big, not always happy family, given life and breath by an eternal parent we dearly long to know. Now we have our one shot at it, our one time to be a conscious part of this ongoing cavalcade. It's not a free and easy trip. We have to live with pain as well as pleasure, temptation as well as promise, loneliness as well as love, fear as well as hope. We have to live inside a coat of skin, wrapped up in drives difficult to control and dreams difficult to achieve. And though we are the guests of honor, we don't get to set the time of the party or its place, nor are we consulted about the guest list. This is our time, and there really is just one question. What are we going to do with it? Come, let us worship together. Each week we light a flame in a chalice to symbolize the creation of sacred space where liberating love can circulate among us. This beautiful earth room sanctuary is not sacred in itself, but only is made so by our gathering and our acting in concert with sacred values. I invite our membership coordinator, Lisa Arcolio, to light our chalice flame this morning. And our chalice lighting covenantal words come to us from the Reverend J. Abernathy Jr., minister in our movement from 1974 to 2014, and still an active part of denominational life to this day. We affirm that love is our greatest purpose. Accepting one another is the truest form of faithful living. The search for truth, our constant star. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to challenge injustice with courage, to find hope in times of fear, and to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as a beloved community. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life. Thank you, Lisa. And now let us sing "To Love and to All Friends," our opening hymn, number 18 in our hymnals and on the screens. What Wondrous Love. You can rise in body and or spirit.
Good morning. So, it is an exciting time to be a Unitarian Universalist. And today I have a new friend to introduce you to. And some of you got an early introduction to this new friend a few weeks ago. You all to meet Jet Pig. Now, you'll notice that Jet Pig has a jet pack. Looks kind of like a backpack, but it's a jet pack, I assure you. And oh, I'm back. Okay. So Jet Pig and I have been spending quite a bit of time together in the last couple of weeks. My family is okay. Okay, let's try this from up here. So my family is tired of me saying Jet Pig, and probably wondering how many times I can say it. And this is going on with religious educators and religious professionals all across the country. People are meeting Jet Pig. So it's been cool learning what matters most to Jet Pig and what matters most to Unitarian Universalists. And in just a minute, we'll get to know Jet Pig a little bit better, but first, I want to tell you why it's such an exciting time for Unitarian Universalists. We call UUism a living tradition because it changes to meet the needs of new generations. So in Unitarian Universalism, we don't have creeds or doctrines that stay the same. We have something called a covenant. And a covenant will change as we grow and as our world changes. And so, does anybody know what a covenant is? A promise, exactly. A covenant in Unitarian Universalism is a promise that we make to one another. It's also a promise about how we'll live out our faith and how we'll use our resources. And so right now we have a covenant that's called our 7 or 8 principles. In our congregation, we have 8 principles. And those principles are really a covenant. They're shared values. They're how we live out our faith, and often we use them to tell people who we are and what we care about and what we believe in. And so the principles, we're talking about shifting from principles to shared values. And that's why JetPig is here today. Now, each of the values, so JetPig is an acronym for the values. And the values, I want to say, don't have any numbers attached to them. So the principles right now, they're numbered. And when we number things, it kind of makes it seem like something's more important, like the first number might be more important than the 5th one. And that's not the case with the principles. All of the principles are important, and all of the values are important. And so that's why these new values don't have numbers, because they're all important. So there's 6 values. So JetPig, in his backpack, he carries around things that help you learn and grow, just like a school backpack. And JetPig helps us remember the values. So the first value is justice. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where we can all thrive. So justice means that we work to dismantle systems of oppression. We use the democratic ways to make decisions. It means that we listen to everyone, that everyone has a right to have their voice heard, that everyone's voice matters. If you know the principles, you can hear the principles in these new values. Right? The first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Next is equity. Now, equity, we declare that every person has a right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. There's that inherent dignity and worthiness. Equity means that everyone has access. Everyone is included. Everyone has what they need to thrive, and that we'll use our resources to make that happen. These pigs that you see, these JetPigs on the slides, were made by our children and youth a few weeks ago as I was talking to them about this. T is for transformation. We adapt to the changing world. Transformation means we change and recognize that our faith is living and growing. We can learn and we can try new things. And as we transform, we covenant to grow spiritually and ethically, and understanding that we are never complete. We're never perfect, so we have to keep growing and learning. P is for pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. Pluralism means that not just one thing is true. There's more than one right way. We honor diversity in thinking. It's good that not everybody is the same. We search for the free and responsible truth and meaning. We learn from others. We can create respect, and we can respect each other's beliefs, and we covenant to learn from one another. I is for interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. Where have you heard this before? Does anybody know? Our seventh principle, yes. Interdependence means that everything is connected like a web. What you do affects me, and what I do affects you. We need to make choices based on this understanding. And when we think about the earth and how we protect it and how we care for it, it means that we have to be good stewards, that we covenant to make our earth sustainable and to repair any harm and prevent further damage. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. Generosity means giving, sharing our spirit and our resources, connecting with other people. We create a spirit of gratitude and hope, just like a few weeks ago when our youth went to Trinity Episcopal and served hot meals in Asbury Park to people who are experiencing homelessness, giving generously of their time. We covenant to share our faith, to have our resources that allow us to be in good relationships. We covenant to use our time and our wisdom, our attention and money to build and sustain inclusive communities. So, now, does anybody know what powers JetPeg? What makes this jetpack go? What is it? Love. Yes, love. Love is at the center of Unitarian Universalism. Love is everything we do. It propels us. It propels JetPeg. And when we talk about love, we're not talking about the kind of kissy, huggy type of love that makes us feel better when we have a scraped knee or toe. We're talking about the love that we have in our family. We're talking about a really big love that we can build on and that we can use to transform the world into a place where everyone can thrive. A love that can hold us together. And so, with the articulation of these shared values, we are better equipped to make values-based decisions. We're better equipped to face the new realities of our world and the changing culture and planet. Down the hall on the Faith Development Bulletin Board, you'll find even more JetPigs. And those JetPigs will tell you about each of the values, and around them you'll find a bunch of hearts. And on those hearts, I invite you to take one and to write on it the ways in which you can live our shared values. And so, what are our values again? Let's see if JetPig, if this acronym works. J. E. T. P. I. And G. It works. All this time, all we needed was a JetPig. And now our children and youth are going to go off to their faith development classes. We'll bless them with Go Now in Peace. And our youth are meeting today in Edgewood making piggy cupcakes. And now let us sing.
honor of Jet Pig's final letter, I'm going to let you know that every week in this congregation, we provide an opportunity to practice generosity. This is your invitation to contribute to the well-being of our congregation and to our social justice partners through the good works of organizations which receive half of the monies collected each month. Our Share the Plate recipient for February is Black Lives of UU, or BLUU. In the 6 years since its inception, BLUU has created life-giving, life-saving opportunities for spiritual community and Black-centered organizing. They've hosted a symposium centering BLUU theology and created the 7 principles of BLUU. Please see the website blacklivesuu.org for these principles and more information. For those of you present here in the meeting house, the plates will be passed by the ushers. You may also join this time of generosity via text, send your offering by mail, or charge your contribution online with a memo designating an amount to Black Lives of UU. Please give generously. Good morning. I'm still Joan Farkas. In terms of, I had mentioned earlier that I was going to talk to you a little bit more about what my role is for denominational affairs, and that's what I'm going to do now. Pretty much that role is the position that helps to coordinate our congregation with any of the news going on in the greater UU world. And so what you're hearing about from Michelle and what you'll be hearing about later from Reverend Craig is a change technically to the UU Bylaws. It's Article 2, and it's going from principles shifting to a values-based discussion. I'm not going to go through the values again. I think Jet Pig did a marvelous job with Michelle. But I would want to let you know that why this proposed change is of particular meaning to me. To begin with, as Michelle alluded to, we need a way to talk about what happens within these walls, outside of these walls. So having new and creative ways to kind of explain why this congregation means so much to me and why I'm here so much, this is good. This is good. This is a lot easier than having some, well, I can recite 7 principles for you. It's like it's a beautiful graphic. It gets our values in a nutshell, and for me, it works. The other reason it's important to me is because I am our representative for denominational affairs. I'm the touch point on General Assembly, which is where this will be voted on, and I also help those who want to volunteer as delegates to connect with Maggie to get their credentials so that they can indeed be delegates and represent the congregation. Because we're a member in good standing of the Unitarian Universalist Association, we're given the opportunity to vote and accept this proposed change at General Assembly this June. For anyone who doesn't know what GA or General Assembly is, it is the largest yearly gathering of UUs, and it's an opportunity where we can discuss our mutual interests, attend workshops, attend worship services. I believe there is a choir you can sing in. And you can also vote on changes that will ultimately impact the congregation. So this year, GA is from June 20th to June 23rd. It's completely virtual, so it's readily accessible. There's no need for plane tickets, no need for hotel rooms. You literally can do this from the comfort of your home. If you need more details about GA, because there's a pricing tier, and the sooner you register, the lower the price, like many other conferences, feel free to talk to me after service. I'll get your information, and then I can email you the information on General Assembly. We also are allotted 7, Maggie wasn't here to fact check me, but I believe last year we sent 7 delegates, and they are allowed to represent us and vote for the congregation on this proposal. In the past, the delegates have included the Fischels, the Hoffmans, Tony Giordano, Virginia Adair, and Betsy Sonata. That's our delegates from last year. So I'm sure they would not mind, I'm calling them out, if you would like to talk to them about what that experience was like. As Michelle already said, we are a living tradition that needs to learn and adapt to meet the needs of every generation. It's been 40 years since we've done a review of this particular article of the bylaws, so in a lot of ways we are overdue in thinking about how we come together in our shared values. So I'm hoping this service will help you to understand a little bit about the changes and the exciting future that's ahead for Unitarian Universalist congregations. I'm sure you can reach out to either Reverend Craig or Michelle if you need more information on what they're presenting to you. And feel free to reach out to me for information on General Assembly and/or being a delegate. And please remember that through change and our shared values, we will remain united through love. Thank you.
Many don't remember the name Edwin Markham, although in his day he was a celebrated poet, asked to read his composition, Lincoln, Man of the People, at the dedication of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. in 1922. But some may remember a short poem he wrote that was centered in his Universalist faith. The poem is entitled Outwitted, and it goes like this. He drew a circle that shut me out, heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in. You see, Markham's Universalist theology had love at its center. Universalism's contention that salvation was for all came logically from the notion that God was love, or that the word God was another name for love. In Markham's view, despite the efforts of those who would cast him out, love was large enough to offer a place even for his own tormentor. As we heard just now from our UU singers, your loving is a miracle. How deeply you're connected to my soul. There's a much-told story about Hosea Ballou, a primary American theologian and the father of one of the three major strands of Universalism in the early 19th century. It seems Ballou was walking through the countryside with a Baptist preacher, and they were arguing about theology as they ambled. At one point, the Baptist looked over and said, "Brother Ballou, if I were a Universalist and feared not the fires of hell, I could hit you over the head, steal your horse and saddle, and ride away, and I'd still go to heaven." Hosea Ballou looked over at him and replied, "If you were a Universalist, that idea would never occur to you." Universalism is one of our primary sources, along with, of course, Unitarianism. But after the merger of these two Christian denominations into a faith movement of seekers, a movement larger than any one denomination or even faith tradition, Unitarian Universalism, itself the very kind of circle Markham envisioned in his poem, after the merger, somehow love got lost in the shuffle. Not found anywhere in our covenantal principles, even as they were rewritten and as they expanded from the original 6 to 7, and then for a growing number of congregations, including ours, to 8, still nowhere was the word love ever mentioned. Also, missing in action from the 7 established principles was action. The principles begin with a vow to affirm and promote the concepts contained therein. But affirm and promote are the last verbs found in the document. So it was that when the UU Association of Congregations board members contemplated establishing a commission to rethink the way we describe our commitments to one another and the world, for that's what our covenant is, they remembered Professor Robert Miller's 1976 Tufts University study of Unitarian Universalism, in which he found that UUs ranked loving as an instrumental value and mature love as a terminal value more highly than did respondents from other groups, religious and non-religious. And that was way before the campaign now known as Side with Love began. The board contemplated our principles to see if they could determine what lay beneath all of them, served as their foundation. And the board shared this reflection. We assert that our deepest common theological grounding and value is this: love. We find it peeking through the words of the currently existing principles. We see it in the insistence on the worth and dignity of every person, and the calls by some that this insistence needs to extend to all other beings as well. We see it in the call for demanding and embodying justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. We hear it in our urging of acceptance of one another and our support for each person's spiritual growth. We discern an accountable love in our call for a responsible search for truth and meaning. Our affirmation of the right of conscience and the right of every individual to participate in shaping those institutions that govern them displays a deep respect and love for every person. We hold up the goal of a peaceful, free, and just world community as an expression of what love can and should bring into being. We believe that our call to respect the interdependent web of which we are a part is an articulation of love for all that is and our own place and role in that web. And we see love calling out a demand that we be active in our justice work and justice making. In a handwritten note discovered in 2020, but written in 1965 to someone who asked Martin Luther King about the meaning of love, the civil rights giant penned words that speak to the board's contention that love underlies our principled values. And they also inform the intimate connection between love and our monthly congregational themes of equity and justice. King wrote, scrawled on a little card about this big, "Love is the greatest force in the universe. It is the heartbeat of the moral cosmos. They who love are participants in the being of God." So the mandate of the board to the Article 2 Commission was this: to root its work in love as a principal guide, attending particularly to the ways that we and our root traditions have understood and articulated love, and how we have acted out of love. And so today, as we have heard, in the section of Article 2 devoted to our covenant, this new formulation of love has love at the center of our values. Not sentimental love, but an active love. Love as a discipline for transformation, a foundation of generosity, a liberating force for equity and justice, a practice made in interdependent community, a love large enough to draw in the diverse pluralism of cultures and beliefs and identities that we represent. Love is the propulsive force underlying all 6 of the Commission's proposed values. Love is what our anti-racist, anti-oppressive multiculturalism looks like in action. There are currently 4 sections to Article 2. The revised version would have 5 sections, separating what were the principles and sources into 2. One on our values and covenant, which we've been discussing, and another on what the Commission now calls inspirations, in which rather than featuring a list of specific traditions, which has always been contentious for what it excludes, instead proclaims that as Unitarian Universalists, we use and are inspired by sacred and secular understandings that help us live into our values. Another section of the article is proposed to be right at the top, the purposes of the association, being to, quote, actively engage its members in the transformation of the world through liberating love. A freedom of belief section remains largely the same, expressly stating that requiring creedal allegiance is specifically out of covenant. And the remaining section, formerly called non-discrimination, would now be called inclusion, in which members would pledge, echoing Edwin Markham's poem of 100 years ago, to replace systemic barriers with ever-widening circles of solidarity and mutual respect. The Commission knew that our covenant in association with one another as members of congregations should represent not only our theological values, our ultimate values about meaning in the universe, but should also serve as a cultural touchstone for our communities. That our covenant should be an educational tool for our young people and for newcomers of all ages. JetPig. The Commission knew that it should help furnish us with a personal code of ethics, that it should be an easy way to explain to others who we are and to draw their interest. And the Commission knew that our covenant should furnish a rhetorical device to define our beliefs or morality in the public square. This new conceptualization of Article 2 does all those things in a poetic, memorable way, serving as an aspirational ground for our actions that would allow us, in the language of our congregation's adopted eighth principle, to journey toward spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community. I urge you to look at the proposed changes to Article 2 yourself. Available online at the UUA website is an entire Article 2 set of resources to help us all understand the history of our ever-evolving covenant, the charge to the Commission, the process that has unfolded over the past several years, and the rationale for and language of the proposal for a way of leading us all into an accountable future together, doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Justice, equity, and transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity, and the cutest little jet pig to help us remember to live into these values, powered by love. He is adorable, isn't he? When Michelle told me that she was getting one for the service, I have to admit, I said, "Order one for me." So it sits right next to that gorgeous hedgehog that Libby Shunwolf created. I have now a hedgehog and a jet pig, so that's fantastic. He drew a circle that shut me out. Heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in. May we continue to outwit the forces of division with the transformational power of love. As a lead-in to our singing together a song by the Reverend John Corrado, precious to me, just going to get my clicker, I used the song in my service of ordination to the ministry. But first I offer a prayer for peace, written by John Parlberg, the New York coordinator with Churches for Middle East Peace. So please join me in a spirit of prayer and meditation. O Spirit of life and love and peace, we witness the violence and injustice in our world, and our hearts ache. Our hearts ache for the people of Israel, for the victims of violent attacks by Hamas, for those held hostage, for those who live with fear and insecurity, for families separated or bereaved. O God of life and love and peace, our hearts ache for the people of Gaza, for the victims of the Israeli military assault, for those grieving the death of children and loved ones, for those being denied water, food, and medical care, for those who have been driven from their homes. O holy force of life and love and peace, we pray that weapons of war be laid down, that walls of separation be dismantled, that prisoners be released, that enmity and hatred give way to understanding, that calls for revenge and violence will grow silent, and that those in authority might find ways to work together for the good of all people. Kindle in our hearts a true love of peace. Make us instruments of peace, that the barriers of fear, suspicion, and hatred may crumble and fall, and the people of the world be united in justice and peace. And now I invite you to remain in prayer and meditation and sing with me twice through number 391 in our hymnals and on the screens, Voice Still and Small. Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear your call singing. In dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing. Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear your call singing. In dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing. Amen. I invite us to rise in body and our spirit to sing our closing hymn, number 6 in our hymnals and on the screens, Just as Long as I Have Breath. closing words of benediction come to us from the Reverend Dr. Michael Schuler, retired from the First Unitarian Society of Madison, Wisconsin. If you are proud of this faith, become its advocate. If you are concerned for its future, share its message. If its values resonate deep within you, give it a measure of your devotion. This community cannot survive without your faith, your confidence, your enthusiasm. Its destiny, the larger hope, rests in our hands. See you at the mac and cheese and chili luncheon. And again, if you are new here, please be our guests. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Let us go in peace to bless and love the world.